Going by the look of these cans, the beans and tomato sauce is the less scary of the two. So we will open it up first here. Pop this ring pull. Oh, it went everywhere. In my eye. What's up, guys? Readiness Rations here with you again, and we're going to be digging into a massive 24-hour international military ration. This monstrous MRE is a Russian Federation IRP-P, and it's meant to feed a Russian soldier for a full 24-hour period. I've had this particular kit in inventory for more than 4 years, and at this point it's well expired. So I'm very curious to see how this ration is held up and if it's still edible at all. Let's dive in. So there are actually quite a few different variations of Russian combat rations. The most recognizable is the standard Russian Army White Star ration here, but they also have alternative meal kits like this one packaged in the Republic of Crimea, and the camo bagged IRP-P that we're taking a look at today. The front here is pretty empty besides our logo, and this really disgusting looking smear of something. I'm guessing that little poo stain is some sort of food. I hope it is at least. It was on the bag when it came to me from Russia. The reverse here reads individual daily food ration, IRP-P. This kit comes in at a whopping 3,500 kcals. It was packaged on March 27th, 2021 and expired January 2nd, 2023. So more than 2 years expired at this point. And as we've learned from previous reviews here on the channel, Russian rations don't really hold up all that well. So at this point, edibility and food safety is questionable with this kit. Looks like we're sealed from the bottom here. Let's tear into it. Metallic Mylar packaging with a Ziploc seal, internal white ration box. And the really odd smell this is putting off does not instill confidence. Everything is nicely arranged in there though. Looks like we have 4 100-gram packages of crackers, and those look pretty broken up. A 100-gram tin of beans and tomato sauce. A pack of apple jam. This is truly one of my favorite items from any military ration. 3 thin napkins. A package of windproof, waterproof matches with striker. A bag of powdered milk that was packaged in 2021. Ugh. Given how old this is, I don't even know if it'll be safe to drink. A fruit beverage mix, 3 count moist towelettes, 2 tea bags, 3 20-gram packages of sugar. This one looks to have absorbed a little bit of oil maybe. A singular package of instant coffee. This is sort of a bent up, soft tin. That's 100 grams of liver pate, 3 water purification tablets, a foldable ration heating field stove with fuel tablets. I'm glad to see this one included. A little plastic container of chocolate hazelnut spread, I suppose sort of like a Russian Nutella, a daily multivitamin, 3 green spoons, and these actually seem to have a pretty good build quality to them, both a salt and pepper pack, a leaflet with information about the ration, and finally our 3 canned main entrees. Each of these cans is a substantial 250-gram serving. This one is beef with green peas and carrots. The next one here is straight up stewed beef. I believe they call that tachanka. And finally, a rice and beef porridge or kasha, one of my favorite items included in Russian rations. That seems to be a decent enough spread, but I suppose it is meant to feed a soldier for a full day. This ration will be all the food I consume for the next 24 hours, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I just hope it's still edible. Here's our humble Russian ration breakfast. Now, as I was unpacking this meal kit, I came to the realization that I've reviewed this exact same menu like 3 years ago. But I actually find that to be a pretty intriguing development because that's going to give us the opportunity to try these items in a way that we haven't done before, to really experience the ration in a completely different way. I will still attempt to start the day out with a coffee here. My last run-in with this Russian coffee was not a positive one. It was all moldy, but we'll see if this one held up. Can't really tell much in the pack. I guess we'll have to pour it out here. Okay, well, that looks like a pretty decent coffee powder to me. I don't see any little white bits or gray bits. Uh-oh, I think I actually spoke too soon. If we look really close on this end right here, we can see fuzzy gray bits, but the rest of this powder does look pretty good. I think I'm going to take a risk this go around and discard that part and still attempt to make the rest of this coffee. We'll follow that powder up with a bit of sugar. They include a ton of sugar in these Russian rations, and it is a large granule beet sugar, I believe. We lost a little powder, so I'm going light on the water. Just being honest here, that doesn't smell very good. It barely has the slightest coffee aroma. One of the major calorie sources in this meal kit are these crackers. They include a lot of them. Looks like we get 6 per package. They're a little broken up. Russian crackers are pretty notorious for a short shelf life. I've cracked into brand new Russian rations where the crackers were already stale. Now these don't smell super rancid or anything, but they don't really smell like crackers either. It's more of a chemical aroma. We can see the light, airy inside there, and they seem to have a decent enough little snap to them. Let's give this one a shot. Hard and stale. Flavor-wise though, not too bad. I've encountered much worse. They're not light and crispy. They're dense and a bit chewy. Flavor-wise, they're really bland and neutral. They have a breadiness to them, but they need a little bit of salt. All that is accompanied by a distinct chemical flavor that's not very pleasant, but it won't stop me from eating it. I'm actually a little surprised at how edible this is, given its age. And I guess we'll wash those crackers down with a sip of our coffee here. It's pretty dark in color. It doesn't smell like much. Let's see how it tastes. Cheers. Yeah, that's not very good. It doesn't strike me as old tasting necessarily. It just tastes like a really cheap instant coffee, like something you would get from Dollar Tree. It has a little bit of that chicory kind of flavor. It has a little bit of acidity to it. Not really any bitterness. It tastes more like chicory than it does true coffee. It's far from a delicious cup, but this stuff is pretty drinkable. Mold and all. I've been waiting for this ever since I pulled it out of the package. This is our Russian apple jam, and man, this stuff is usually super tasty. Look how dark that is. We'll scoop a little on a cracker here. Dark and thick. Look how tall it's sitting up on that cracker piece. Down the hatch. Tart, sweet, excellent dried fruit flavor. I know it's apple, but it has like these raisiny, datey notes to it. The depth of flavor on this jam is always shocking. So good. We've had this many times on the channel, and it is always a treat. But over the years, I've had several people reach out to me and tell me that this apple jam can actually be rehydrated into a drink. So I got a glass here, and I think we'll take a big scoop of this. I really hope I'm not wasting this stuff. That looks like about a tablespoon, and I'll take just a bit of hot water here, and we'll dilute our jam. That looks pretty disgusting, but we'll stir it in. That jam really thickened up the water, and it smells like a really sweet apple cider. You guys might be onto something here. It doesn't really look that great, but I don't know. Let's see how it tastes here. Tart, sweet. Holy crap, that's delicious. I can't believe I haven't tried it like this before. That is excellent. Trying this jam in drink form has completely opened my eyes to new possibilities. I wonder if I can do that with other rations. I still need this glass for our milk, so I guess we'll try out one of our moist towelettes here. It is still wet, but only slightly. Pretty thin construction, really a quite small moist towelette, and pretty fragile, it breaks easily. But I suppose it's good enough to clean out our glass here because we have some powdered milk to try out. The powder doesn't look too bad despite the age. It's very light and fluffy. Smells pretty weird, distinctly milky, but also equally chemically. I think this calls for something like 200 mils of water. Look at that distinct line of separation between the water and the powder. Yeah, this is gonna require a lot of stirring. Oh man, that is chunky and curdled looking. It has more of the appearance of cottage cheese than it does a milk beverage. After a lot of stirring here, I do think it's reached a consistency that is drinkable. However, it's still chunky. Russian ration powdered milk. Here we go. Oh no, that is not at all pleasant. It's chunky and chalky. No sweetness whatsoever. It does have dairy notes to it, but to me it tastes a little bit more cheesy than it does milky. The texture is just so wrong, but I think the worst aspect of it is the chemical flavor that it has. I just don't think this is aged very well. I don't remember it being nearly that bad tasting when I had it back 3 years ago. Maybe it's going just a little bit off, but I can tell you for sure, I don't like it. That doesn't mean I'm not going to try to rescue it though. We have our chocolate hazelnut spread here. That looks really interesting. It's a bit shiny, a bit dried looking. Look at it just sort of squeeze out there. A chocolate block. It's very thick. Pretty dark looking as well. Smells pretty sweet and pleasant, although I'm not really picking up on hazelnut or chocolate necessarily. On the spoon, it really doesn't look too bad though. Let's go ahead and try that one out. Really sweet, super sugary, and I can taste the hazelnut. That really is a lot like Nutella, but it's not quite like the real thing. It's more like a Great Value or Aldi brand, some store brand offshoot. Of course, this can be enjoyed straight off the spoon, or it can be eaten with these crackers. Give that combo a shot. Cracker adds a little bit of crispness, and the chocolate flavor is strong enough to sort of take over. You still get a bit of that weird chemical flavor from the cracker though. Not really the best combo. I said we were going to try to save this milk, and since we have chocolate spread here, I think we'll try making a chocolate milk. Got a decent spoon. This might just be wishful thinking, but I'm going to do my best to mix these two together.
One eternity later.
After what felt like an eternity stirring, we're finally coming together into what could pass as a chocolate drink. If we look at this up close though, you can tell it is far from mixed. It is very chunky and separated. We can see bits of that grainy milk and little bits of chocolate sort of just moving around. But it seems to me time to get a taste of our Russian chocolate hazelnut milk. Well, it's better than the milk was by itself, that's for sure. I'm still getting that weird chemical flavor, but the chocolate hazelnut has helped to cover it up, and now it is substantially sweet, which is an improvement in my opinion. It actually feels decently smooth in the mouth, despite its sort of chunky appearance. That took a long time to make, but it was worth it in my opinion. I would have probably tossed that milk out otherwise. In this form, I can certainly get it down. All right, I guess we need to get into some protein for our breakfast. Take a look at this liver pate here. The can was a bit dented, but still seems to be sealed. The color has a slight brownish orange tone to it. I can see some little specks of black pepper in there though. Ooh, that just fell straight on out of there. It's like a solidified livery jello mold, almost like a nightmarish creation from the 1950s. Cut into it here, ooh, very soft. Cut easily with the spoon. Internally, it looks to be a very homogeneous mix. I can't make out any individual components. Very light on aroma. Canned meat products like this are usually a bit more fragrant. It does have a distinct irony kind of smell to it though. Let's see how it tastes. Ooh. That is the most metallic tasting pate I've ever come across. I don't know if that's good anymore. It has an overpowering upfront punch of metal taste, but after that dissipates, you can pick up on a little bit of that porky, livery flavor, which redeems it slightly. Typically, I enjoy pates, but I cannot say that I like this one. It tastes just like a tin can. I will try it on a bit of cracker here, though. Yeah, I'm just not liking that one. It's odd, because usually I'm all about pate. It's a little bit gritty and grainy. The cracker does help to tone down the iron flavor just a little bit, but it's certainly still there. If memory serves, the last time I had this, I liked it pretty well. But I'm not liking it at all this go around, and that leads me to think that perhaps it is showing its age. I don't think it's the kind of thing that would make me sick necessarily, but for me, this pate is no longer palatable. It's what I imagine a bad cat food would taste like. I'm still going to do my best to eat as much of it as possible though. And I guess that wraps up our morning meal. Let's move things right over to lunch. And I think this will turn out to be a more substantial meal. I went ahead and boiled both of these tins to heat them up. And the beef with peas and carrots here is sort of bowed out on both the top and the bottom, so it looks like it's under pressure. That one might be dangerous to open. I think we'll give both of those a moment to cool down, but while we wait, I think we'll prepare our fruit beverage. The powder is very clumpy and solidified, has a little bit of a yellowish tinge to it, and smells extremely perfumey, not like any fruit I've ever smelled. Grab just a bit of the powder here, and we'll give that a shot dry. Very tart and very sweet, basically like candy, It always surprises me how good drink mixes taste just eaten right out of hand. Again, I couldn't really make out what flavor that was, just a sort of a generic citric acid, I guess. That is a super chunky mix. These usually require 250 mils of water. This is going to be slightly more than that, I think. And since this is sweetened with real sugar, it's going to take forever to dissolve. Going by the look of these cans, the beans and tomato sauce is the less scary of the two. So we will open it up first here. That's still super hot to the touch. Pop this ring pull. Oh, it went everywhere. Oh, it went everywhere. In my eye. Wow, I have Russian beans and tomato all over my face, and I feel a bit like a pirate because I can't see anything. Luckily, no damage was done. It just took a moment to clean up. I know better than to heat up a can without popping the top to let it vent. So that's what I get for going against my own best practices and being impatient. This beans with tomato sauce is looking really soupy. I don't recall if I heated this up last time, but it is very loose. It looks like it's about 50-50 beans and juice. Literally the only thing I see in here is beans and sauce, no onion, no chunks of tomato. The beans in question appear to be like a pinto bean, and they are soft, easily squishing with the back of a spoon. That's some very saucy beans. Let's give them a taste. Quite soft, very naturally beany. They have a little bit of a tomato sauce tang, but other than that, all you're tasting is bean and can. Unfortunately, this has a pretty powerful metallic-y, tinny, canned flavor, and I'm guessing that's probably due to the age. This is one of the most simple and basic tasting ration items I have ever encountered. Plain and simple beans and sauce. I'd have to imagine that's kind of like prison food. Not really much else to say. Perhaps it'll be a bit better on a cracker. Try to soak up as much of that juice as possible. The cracker improves the texture, but all in all, that's a pretty bland combination. After our bean explosion, I am pretty scared of this beef and peas tin. I'm going to be a bit more careful opening it up. I'm going to sort of block the entry here and start with a really small hole to begin with. It still sprayed, but didn't get all over my face this time, so that's a good thing. The napkin was the hero. This is the first item we've encountered today that smells really nice. This has a savory, oniony aroma. There's a fair bit of juice in this can, and everything is tightly compacted in there. Really a sizable portion once we get everything on the tray. The aroma that's putting off reminds me a lot of beef stew, but it is very canned pea forward. Looks like we have a pretty even distribution of peas and beef. There are some decent sized chunks of beef roast in here, but also a lot of smaller bits, sort of all through the mix there. The carrots are a small dice, cubed carrot, and there's a decent amount of those as well. I don't see onion, but I do smell onion, so I suppose there's some in here. That looks pretty down home and hearty. Carrots, peas, and beef, a classic combination. Here we go. Everything's very soft and very natural tasting. I don't think there's any seasonings or spices in this at all. It is quite salty, but the only flavors that are coming through are those of peas, carrot, and beef. This bite has a big chunk of roast beef in it. That one was good. Luckily, this entree does not taste like can, and I'm thankful for that. We'll get in there with a bit of cracker. Every item in a Russian ration is pretty suitable to eat with crackers. That absorbs some of the liquid, kind of binds everything together, and makes it all a bit more substantial. I just wish the crackers tasted a little better. These beans were so lightly flavored, I don't see any reason that you can't mix the beans with the peas, the carrots, and the beef. We'll get one bite here with all that together. And yeah, those are all pretty complementary flavors and work well together. No reason not to mix it all up. Last item for lunch is our beverage here. That turned out to be a pale, translucent yellow color. Cheers. Lightly sweet, not nearly as sour now that it's been rehydrated, but still has a nice tartness to it. It is a perfumey flavor. And like I said before, I can't really distinguish what fruit taste this has, but that is a really nice beverage nonetheless. I would happily Drink these Russian beverages on the regular, a lot nicer and more natural tasting than what you'll encounter with an American MRE. Well, I suppose I'll polish the rest of this off, and then we'll dig into dinner. And a massive evening meal it will be, because we're not just doing one entree for dinner, we're doing two. The stewed beef and beef and rice porridge. I think these two are going to go together perfectly. I will not repeat my mistakes from lunch, and I'm going to crack the top on these before we heat them up. So there is our rice and beef tightly compacted in the can. We can see a little bit of gelatin and a little bit of congealed fat. Has almost no smell. Now for the roast beef. Ooh, that squirted a little bit despite not being heated. Very gelatinous on this one. And we can also see a little bit of fat on top. Look how jiggly that is. That roast beef looks like it's sitting in a thick beef consomme. So I'll place each of these in a bath of boiling water to heat up. And while we wait on that, we'll prepare our tea. And there's our tea bag. I don't think I'd scan that QR code. It looks like a pretty standard tea bag, but that actually smells like a really fragrant, nice black tea. I still have more than half of my massive sugar bag left. I couldn't imagine going through 3 of these in a single day. While this is hot, I will add some sugar, because I like my tea sweet. That is a well-steeped looking cup of tea to me. Let's try it out here. Sweet but bitter at the same time. Really nice, fragrant tea flavor coming through. It tastes like a very simple black tea, but a high quality, powerful tea flavor it has. These Russian ration teas never disappoint. Truly one of the best in the world. And I just realized that I failed to consume our daily multivitamin here. Missing out on these vital nutrients would have been a major mistake. Oh boy, that multivitamin doesn't look that great. I don't remember them being so dark in the past. This resembles a B complex that is well past its best by date. I know because I've taken them before, and that's pretty much what it smells like too. Really old B vitamins. That won't prevent me from getting my daily dose though. Here we go. That was awful. The tea makes up for it though. I boiled each of these entrees for about 10 minutes. Look how much juice is on that stewed meat. We'll get the rice out first. There's a good bit of juice in it as well. Very fatty, oily, steaming hot here. Shaped a little bit like a can. That's really a nice sized portion. But if we look in close on this, we can see there is very little meat in the mix. It is predominantly rice. I don't really see anything else in there as far as onion or any kind of spices or anything goes either. If you took all the meat in this and combined it together, it might be like a tablespoon, an ounce, or 2 at the most. But I figured it might be that way going into it, and that's why I decided to combo these entrees, because we have a full tin here of straight meat and juice, and it is all going right into the rice. Oh yes, now we are talking. That is one heck of a meaty dish now. I might have overdone it a little bit with all of this meat juice. The tachanka here is literally just a chunk of roast beef, slow cooked. We can see those real meat fibers. That's looking really nice, and a substantial piece of protein there. There is a little bit of connective tissue and fatty bits sort of distributed in the mix, but that's just all part of it. If this pile of food can't fill you up, nothing can. Get a spoon here. Nice chunk of beef, since we have plenty to go around, with a whole bunch of our rice. This is what Russian military food is all about. Down the hatch. Man, that was a big chunk of super tender roast. That is ridiculously meaty. The sauce tastes like straight beef tallow, very fatty and oily. I can feel the oil slick around my lips. The rice here is the perfect complement to that meat. It soaks up all those juices and they go together perfect. This does have a very plain beefy taste though. The only seasoning is literally salt, and it is quite salty, but it doesn't taste like much else. Luckily they provided us with a pack of black pepper, and this Russian black pepper is usually pretty darn good. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this all over everything, the whole package. There was a good bit in there, and we'll go back in for round 2 here. Meat, rice, and black pepper. It's very rare to run across a ration where you can fill your entire mouth up with a chunk of meat, but you can do it with this one. I mean, just look at that beef. Outstanding. Gelatinous, unctuous, tender, delicious beef, and the rice does a good job of holding everything together. This has no indication of its age. It tastes as fresh as if it was just packed. I truly saved the best for last with this one. This double entree combo really pulled everything together. It made what was otherwise a pretty lackluster ration come off as pretty decent. It's my second time having this specific meal, and I wouldn't hesitate one bit to have it a third time. And that, my friends, was our Russian IRP-P, a 24-hour field ration that, despite being well expired, was still pretty edible. It was nothing groundbreaking, and I certainly wouldn't rank it amongst the best in the world, but MREs from Russia get the job done. They keep you fed. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up to help it out with the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my future military ration review content. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of the ration and the review. And also, while you're down there, let me know what ration you would like to see me review next. Thanks so much for watching. I will catch you guys in the next video. See you then. Peace.